The young people here have lack of access to cultural resources, so being part of this is a very new experience. They're actually making connections with each other and learning about each other and finding out that they're unique themselves, and it's building up their confidence.
Remember, you're thinking as a large team, not individually.
This program is a life skills program that teaches people to be able to recognize and do change. Everything that the horse does can be paralleled to people in everyday life.
All it is about safety, right? Building trust was about safety.
What we do in this week is we plant the seed. We plant the seed that things can be done differently. You can do better. You can communicate better. You can actively listen. All those seeds have been planted, and then every day we water them. And we water them with positive reinforcement. And that's what our first exercise was all about, was what are these horses like? If they were people, what kind of personalities would they have? Relationship building amongst ourselves. And as the boys came through that and they had to actually chart the personalities of the horses, things started to come together and the horses started to initiate teamwork. And what they started to realize, it was actually their energy that was affecting the way the horses were reacting to them.
Here he comes.
Whoa. At first, lots of us were really scared, and we didn't really know how to interact or what to do. We weren't taking the leadership role, and then that's one thing the horses taught us, because that if we weren't taking the leadership role, they were just going to stand there or go do their own thing. Just watching the past few days, everyone's been building that trust in that leadership role and just making lots of improvements.
The horses taught me that they could be trustworthy if you gain their trust and their respect. As long as you treat them well, they'll treat you the exact same way.
It teaches everyone valuable lessons throughout life, and that they can take with them to the day they die.
The Healing Fund was established to support the communities to determine for themselves what it is that they need healing with. It's another step towards bringing wholeness back into communities. After everything that's happened with regard to residential schools, I am so proud to be here, and it's very meaningful for me to be here to see young people get connected to culture, get connected to the special symbolism of their culture through horses.
I'm not a youth anymore, but I was severely affected by residential school because my dad was a residential school survivor, as well as his mom and dad. Any autonomy and intelligence and pride that they had was totally removed. My dad got beaten a lot and he starved a lot, and yet they were taught Jesus loves. So they come out of residential school conflicted. Is this what going to church means? The loss of all those skills and coping skills drastically affected our family units.
It's not just the effects of the residential school experience. It's also the impact of 500 years of colonialism, the loss of land, segregation on reserves, policies outlawing Indigenous culture. Colonialism and institutional racism continue today. You see it in inequitable funding for education and substandard access to healthcare and other services. For healing to start, the proper resources, equitable access to services, and equality have to be in place to benefit the people. If these barriers are removed, these kids and Indigenous society will reach their full potential.
I know that a lot of them are dealing with something. We don't ask a lot of questions, but to see the change in the boys has been huge.
At the first day, we were all just kind of in our own little bubbles, just sitting in our rooms, being really shy.
We started opening up gradually, and we opened up so much, I'm able to pick up somebody without them complaining.
The things that I learned here is building trust, gaining confidence.
Communication, trust, and kind of how to be a role model.
Work together, talk it out.
Working with the horse, being able to communicate, I think that's the biggest thing in anybody's life, is to be able to communicate. There's a lot of things that are lacking, not only on the First Nations reserves, but also in the families and also in the personal lives of people. They fail to communicate, and that's when things start to break down.
What causes this program to be successful? Number one, it's experimental. It's resiliency. It's hands-on, it's mindfulness, it's in the moment. It forces you to be in the moment. People can sit there and say to you across the desk, you need to be in the moment. Okay, well, what does that look like? Step into an arena full of horses that are 1,200 pounds of I'm not doing anything you want, and see what in the moment is. And we've had many people say, during that time in that arena, I don't have any anxiety.
This is a very unique program because you're bringing together the elders, you're bringing together professionals who work with horses and helping them see them in a different way from a spiritual perspective, a ceremonially perspective, but also how to communicate with each other and work together. It's a very good example of how the United Church is fulfilling its promise to walk with the people, with the Indigenous peoples, for the harm that was done in the past. It is their way of showing that this is the apology in action, and this has been a great opportunity for the young people to grow and learn and heal.
I hope that they can take the positive, learn from their experiences with the horses, with each other and us, and continue to do some of these things in everyday life and take it back to their communities and become better.